What is going on, Fightful Faithful? Welcome back to a brand new interview here today, where we are sitting down here with the undisputed British heavyweight champion, Mr. Michael Oku, just a couple of days before he does face off with Will Ospreay in his trilogy match. And I hope you're doing well today, Michael.
I'm doing really well, Corey. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm ready to talk anything. Anything you want to talk about, let's do it.
So obviously, starting off, we're going to talk about that Ospreay match. It's an absolutely massive match. It's his last match before he heads on to AEW, last match in the UK scene. And you're very familiar with him. Two matches in the chamber, two singles matches in the chamber already. Um, so just an overall kind of question of what does this mean to you to kind of have this chance at almost redemption with Ospreay before he does leave RevPro for good, or for the foreseeable, that is.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things. First of all, I think he truly does want to like finish things off. It's not like a contractual, you're not allowed to wrestle for Repro anymore. But I
Mm.
really think that he's trying to think what's best for himself, his career, his body, his family, to no longer do the indies. So there is a bit of an what's the word here? I want to say like I really appreciate that I'm the last match because it could be anyone. There's loads of people that are in the scene, but the match that makes the most sense, I think, to fans and I think to Will is for it to be me. Of course, the last two matches were losses, so it would just be a cool headline for me personally as a wrestler and for my like career. If the headline is that I'm one of the few people who has a victory over Will Ospreay, which is the case for like the last few years. And if it's his final match in the Indies, that's kind of what would be cool for me.
Yeah, and obviously there's two very important stipulations to the match. You guys set it up in your face to face last weekend, and I'm just wondering for you, the emotional and storyline element to the match that going into it. Obviously, it's a long term story with you guys now, and Mira has been brought into it by Will time and time again. So obviously, you decided that you didn't want referee stoppages. Will decided that Amira could throw in the towel if she wanted, and just your general thoughts on those two stipulations for you personally, and what that adds to the match for you.
So of course, the one of the biggest parts about that second match that me and Will had 2 years ago was that it was so emotionally driven, and my family there is ringside, but also my girlfriend Amira's there ringside, and her being brought into it, I think took the match to another level in terms of not just a great Will Ospreay match because he had great matches earlier that year. He made event in Tokyo Dome, and then he had loads of crazy matches in throughout 2022, and has done since, of course. So that I think that's one of the reasons why people, even though he's had a plethora of matches around the world, people come back to this match as one that stands out to them because of that added element of a mirror. So I think for me, when I was thinking about, right, well, it's time for the third match, and just as a wrestler, it's like, God, we do have to try and see if we can live up to the second match. What makes the most sense is the no ref stoppages staying because there's no point of it just going that not being the case anymore and we're going back down. It's always trying to think how do we add another stipulation? How do we escalate things? But I didn't want it to be a thing of like taking away the idea, which is just about professional wrestling. It's like, who's the better professional wrestler? And for
Mm.
me, I'm such a big thing on when the stories still revolve around beating someone in a professional wrestling match. So we could have done like we could have tried to probably get Andy to find a budget for a Hell in a Cell or a ladder, but I think it's so important that like it's still just boiled down to its core. It's just a singles match, like one on one kind of affair, but then still have a mirror adding something and like an element of doubt in terms of what she'll do, and people wondering what she'll do, as well as it adding some, I guess, some question over to how the match is going to end.
Yeah, it's obviously those first two matches are two of the most well known of your career at this point, just for the simple, as you said, the emotional aspect. And I just wondering, for you personally, is this the best version of Michael Oku that's going into face Will Ospreay on February 18th?
100%. Yeah, that's very easy to like for me to step back and look. I do feel like I've improved every year, maybe except for 2020 when there's a pandemic. and like there was no way to train or wrestle.
Yeah.
But I think every year I've been able to exponentially grow as a wrestler, and I'm able to learn new things, and I'm able to feel like even just like last weekend, I wrestled Leon Slayer at North Wrestling, and that's the third time me and him have wrestled, and I feel like we were doing things or wrestling in a way that was completely different to the first time, two times we wrestled, and we're only talking about in the space of a year that we've had three matches. So for sure, I'd say that like I'm on the top of my game, and that's kind of what I need to be as well. Because Will is also on the top of his game. He's also improving, even though people are probably saying he's probably the best wrestler from 2019. I think he's improved so much since then. So I have to be the best in my game, and with that comes pressure. But I'm ready. I'm ready to deal with it.
Yeah, and obviously you've held the British Heavyweight Championship for a while now, over 200 days easily at this point, and you've defended against some top names. You defended against Trent Seven, Gabe Kidd, Luke Jacobs, and obviously Osprey is kind of the peak of those defenses. But is there going for you personally? Is what comes after Osprey if you should retain on the 18th? What comes next? Who do you think is going to be the one to step up next and say, right, I got next?
So for me personally, it might not be a who more than it is what's next, because yeah, it seems like it doesn't get higher than Will Ospreay. If I'm able to defend the title against him, who's the next person that could? It's then going to be a big thing if someone's able to beat me, even if it's like um, even if it's someone I've already wrestled, or if it's a new person that comes out of nowhere, or if it's an import. What I want to do, if I'm able to continue like holding the title, is try and make sure that like I'm making history with the belt, not just holding a belt that has history. I always talk about there's like a period of time in WWE where like when people held the Intercontinental title, as soon as they won it, the promo would be about all the cool wrestlers that held it,
Yeah,
and but they're all from 20 years ago. And it's almost like there's this gap where they don't mention anyone who are there. Like, well, these guys are Hall of Fames, The Rock, Triple H. And what I don't want to be is like, oh, I'm able to just list off the past champions of what they've done, whereas I've done nothing huge myself. So I think one of the biggest things I can do, other than defending it in a couple bucks, which I did, is having a victory over Will in his last independent match. But then I want to try and see if there are new countries and new big venues that I can like defend and represent RevPro whilst defending the heavyweight title. So I'm trying to make it. It is a world title, even though it's a British heavyweight title.
yeah.
It is. It's 100% like the prestige level is that of a world title, especially when it comes to independent wrestling. But I myself now would love to try and see if I could take that belt and go around the world with it.
Yeah, obviously, with the Osprey feud, as we've both mentioned repeatedly, Amira has been a big part of it. And when I was speaking to her a couple of days ago, she did say that like you both kind of agreed that she's going to move into more of a part-time role of managing you going forward, and she's going to be focusing on her in-ring stuff. For you, What is that going to be like for you for to know that someone who's been by your side for pretty much everything you've had going on the last little while is just not going to be there anymore. And are you looking forward to seeing her prove to everyone how good she is in the ring? Just general thoughts on like what comes next for you and Amira.
I think for herself, she didn't start wrestling. She didn't get into wrestling to be a manager. She went in to be a wrestler, and that's the case for most people. So even though from what she said, she's happy to manage me. She doesn't want to lose sight of what her goals are, which is to be a professional wrestler, and I don't want her to lose sight of that either. I want to make sure that she's going after what she wants to. Having said that, there is a thing where she's my manager in Rev Pro, and where we're at, the two of us are together. We're known as like the two people that are together are there in Rev Pro. So there's been times where she is taking a booking the day of Rev Pro show. I've come through the curtain, and then there's a fan immediately being like, "Where's Amira? Where is she?" And I was like, "She's booked. She's trying to wrestle." So it may be it's going to be like if she's going to start managing me less, there's going to be this transition period where people, I feel like fans more so than me, are going to have to get used to her not being there ringside with me. So I'm I think I'll be okay with it. I feel I'm able to like when I'm in the ring, it's me wrestling, so I think I'll be fine in that sense. But I think the fans getting used to not seeing her. I think they'll genuinely miss her. So we'll try and see how we can make that like not like a clean break and a smooth
Mm.
transition to her becoming an in-ring wrestler all around the country and world. And then I know one of her big goals would maybe eventually be a regular wrestler for Revolution Pro Wrestling. So I'm in her corner supporting her however I can. And that's kind of the main thing when it comes to that I'm worried about, just making sure that she's happy and doing what she wants to do.
I'd be remiss if while I had you here today to not talk a little bit about OTT. You've been there quite a few times now. You wrestled for OTT quite a few times now, and you did mention you want to take the championship to other countries and so forth. So I'm just curious, would that be something that interests you? Possibly even locking up. I don't know how familiar with him you are, but Mr. Sammy D of the Draw is the current OTT World Champion, and for me personally, at least, I would absolutely love to see you two lock up. But is a return to OTT something that interests you in the near future?
Of course, 100%. It's one of the best promotions I've ever worked for, especially from the first time I wrestled. I was like, I fell in love with OTT immediately. It was like September 2019. Um, I don't think I have even like been in the same ring with Sammy D, so that will be a fresh thing, and I'm still looking for fresh matches. In this point in my career, it feels like even in Europe, just all of Europe, it's hard to find uh, new matchups that haven't happened. But there's people either cropping up or people that just have stayed away from each other, not by choice, but
Yeah.
just by happenstance. So taking it to OTT would be a cool thing because I know Will. I don't know if I don't think he's defending the title there, but he's come out with the belt, and there's been I know there's been at least a good relationship with OTT and RevPro and other promotions. So for sure, like with when the stars align, if the stars align, coming to OTT with the title or just coming to OTT full stop would be like a nice thing to return to.
And keeping in like bringing it to bigger and larger situations. Obviously, last year you did appear at AEW All In. You didn't get the chance to wrestle. Would that be something that would that be kind of the biggest goal that you could possibly have this year, 2024? They're going back. They're going to be in London again. I know you're probably going to be wrestling that week for Rev Pro, should you choose to. And I'm just wondering, is that a goal that like you got to appear last year, but you want to kind of step up and be on the card this year if you can if AEW and RevPro could figure it out, obviously.
If it works for AEW, then of course I'd love to be a part of performing at Wembley Stadium. And you said it best there. Last year, not getting to wrestle, it sounds like I was supposed to, but like I'm saying, like
Yeah.
having a role full stop, where like I made like a couple of appearances on the show, like two times I was on the show doing two different things. So in a sense, that's already a cool thing. I would like it to be like I always like, what's the next step? What's the next goal? What's the step above that? So whatever it is, if I am doing something, uh, on the All In weekend, if I am doing something at Wembley Stadium, I want it to be a step up of what I've already done before. So if it is that I'm in the ring, that would be the ultimate. I think I agree that would be the ultimate goal and the coolest thing. But at the same time, just being a part of the AEW team and helping out and just being able to hang out with people I consider friends that are there in the roster, that's still a good time to me too.
And just ask because it was a surprising appearance for a lot of people. A lot of people kind of just picked up on it. It's like, oh, Michael Oku's is here. He's on the show, like, and I'm just wondering what that process was like to kind of just find to be on the show. Was there just a general call for British wrestlers, or did someone reach out to you specifically, or?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to talk about it. I don't think it's like super top secret, but
Yeah,
it was AEW themselves that sent an email.
yeah,
I don't know what the criteria was, but they had a cast and crew of pro wrestlers from either the UK and from Ireland who they brought over, and I think that's kind of what the big companies do. They're like,
yeah.
here's some people that we know that are on the scene. Let's bring them in to be extras,
Mm.
and there may be some ideas of what they might be doing during the show, but let's just have them in case we need them. And I think that was it. I didn't know what I'd be doing until I got there. So it was like, okay, show up. bring these items of clothing, and we'll let you know what you'll be doing if you'll be doing anything at the show. So it was a very interesting time to just kind of be like, it's been a while since I've been, I don't want to say on edge, because it's not like there was like people weren't being intimidating, but the scale of the operation made it intimidating.
Yeah.
Where you're like, just act cool. I'm just in my head just being like, just act cool, everything's cool. But what did help things calm things down was, again, like I said, like there being AEW roster members that either knew of me or that have wrestled on the indies before they
Mm.
went there. That company's full of so many stars of British wrestling, let alone independent wrestling. So there was that familiarity that helped things. And once I knew what I was doing, I was just trying to make sure that like just did the job the best of my ability. Being in the ring, I think that was one of the first. I think that was the first segment on the show or in the
Yeah, it was
stadium.
the pre-show. Yeah.
So just getting to say, all right, I'm actually going to just be in the ring while there's an AEW show happening in the center of Wembley Stadium. But that's a victory. That's a little cool thing that I can at least say I've done. But yeah, did that, and then yeah, like hopefully, like I guess I'll be waiting for an email next year. It might not be a guarantee, but if not, there's RevPro the day before that I'll be putting my all into. Oh my god, that was unintentional, I promise.
So just kind of keep with the theme kind of AEW a little here. You just recently did get back from a unique scenario for wrestlers. A lot of wrestlers have spoke on it being a just completely unique experience, and you did win the Oceanic Championship on the Jericho Cruise. You wrestled Speedball Mike Bailey, Johnny TV, or Johnny Cruz as he was called then, and and obviously then you did beat Matt Cardona. So is it, what was that experience like for you to kind of get, Amira did say that there was kind of a slow bit of buzz around you, kind of just slowly building as people realize just how good you are. So I'm just curious, like how your experience was on that.
So the cruise was amazing. I can't lie. It was so much fun because it felt like a holiday sprinkled in with getting to wrestle. So I guess
Mm.
that's a wrestler's dream. um, but it was a really good time. Something that I want to highlight that was really enjoyable, maybe a little bit surprising, was how everybody's together, as in like everybody's sharing the same things in terms of the fans as well as the wrestlers and the talent. We're all going to the same restaurants to have food. We're all
Mm.
using the same swimming pools. We're all on the same area for like sunbeds and the hot tubs. It's all being used by fans as well as wrestlers. And what was so cool was that you weren't not even like bothered. We all just treated each other equally. They treated us like human beings. I treated them like human beings. We just got to talk um, on a human level, which was really cool to do with wrestling fans. And we've all got that one thing in common of pro wrestling, but we're all so much different people. So that was a really enjoyable part to about the cruise. In terms of wrestling, it's such an interesting thing because yeah, I'm having three matches. I'm on a cruise that is filled with AEW wrestlers and is named after one of the biggest names in wrestling. I'm gonna say about 10 people probably have seen a match of mine that were on that cruise out of the thousands that were on that cruise, and that's me being generous. So it really was a thing from like, all right, let's see what this guy's about. Who is this guy? To then getting right behind me. But I've been in that situation lots of times. It feels very similar to if I debut in a new promotion. That's kind of the same thing, especially if it's a new country and they're not familiar with what I've done. That's happened a few times in America when I've gone these last few years. It's winning over the fans. It's getting over in front of new people. I'm comfortable doing that, and there was no better opponent to do that with, especially for the match one with Speedball Mike Bailey, who I've wrestled a few times, and we both know each other so well. We were main event, and that was where there was nerves. Like they had seen all these AEW wrestlers, all the famous people. Prince Nana do his dance, Swerve do his thing, all that, and then we come out and close the show. That was the only bit that was daunting, like having to
Mm.
follow the big names. But I knew we were going to give them something really good because we have that pedigree behind us, me and Speedball, and that helped me big time going into the next matches and the crowd getting behind me and knowing me, and then just losing their mind when I eventually won the belt.
Yeah, and just even to continue on with that, you were mentioning how Leon Slater and how you've wrestled him multiple different times in recent memory. And at this stage in your career, is there someone that not even specific to Osprey, maybe excluding Osprey here. Is there someone in your career that you feel like every time you've got into the ring with them, it's almost a foregone conclusion you're going to put on an absolutely great match because you just have that chemistry. You just the fans are dying to see it, and so on and so forth. Just a general kind of question of is do you have that perfect opponent at this stage in your career yet?
If I was to, yeah, I want to say a few names. That's the thing. Goodness me,
Oh, you can
because
name
Leon's
you
a
can name a few.
sure, sure. So, because Leon's a great one right there, where like, yeah, it's just no, not even any worry of how it's gonna go. It's gonna go really well. We're just trying to outdo what we've done in the past. That's a really cool feeling. I've had those same feelings for these next guys. Of Speedball is a good one. In terms of on the British scene as well, though, where I feel like people who we're all on the same level. Um, I'd say Mills. Mills and I, we first had our first singles match in 2020, and then we went on to have a feud in RevPro and had a few matches where it's just like, just I just know it's gonna go well. He's a guy who, like, I think he's always been really, really good, and it's really cool to now see that he's starting to get the eyes of the fans. For me, Mills is like our generation's Pete Dunne, because when I heard podcasts about Pete Dunne, it was that like all the wrestlers were saying that Pete Dunne was great way
Mm.
before the fans did, and that's always been the thing for Mills. Like all the wrestlers will be like, "Listen, he's great. We're great. We know he's great." And I think that's starting to happen with Mills. So that's the best compliment I can give him. And we're probably going to wrestle loads more times, and I know it's going to be great. The other one will be Luke Jacobs. Luke Jacobs and I has also had like three singles matches. He's probably my favorite wrestler to watch, and in terms of like the physical toll it takes on me, the worst wrestler for me to wrestle. I've literally got an eye injury where, like, from things that happen in the ring, like it's from Luke. So if there's someone who I also think is on top of his game, people would argue that he's the number one wrestler in the country, like a British indie wrestler in the country, and that's what I'd argue is me, because I have to
Yeah.
believe that. But like for me, Luke is right beside me, as well as Leon. Like in terms of like who's the number one wrestler on the Indies. It's probably a toss up between the three of us. But Luke is incredible. Luke is really really is incredible.
Um, Obviously, you were just mentioned just the multiple matches and all that that you've had that have built up the injuries, but you're no stranger to having a hectic schedule. You were the RevPro Cruiserweight champion for nearly 900 days, and you did that at a time when uh, I think nowadays, not now nowadays, this year especially, there's been a lot of reigns throughout all wrestling that have just gone on for a ridiculous amount of time, and it's like just closing in on that 1,000 days. But you did that kind of just before that kind of boom of happened. So I'm just kind of wondering, you did shatter a couple of records doing that, and I'm just wondering, is that something that you want to kind of replicate with the British heavyweight title? Obviously, it being a world title, it's going to be a lot more hectic, a lot more brutal, a lot bigger matches, so on and so forth. But just is that kind of in the back of your mind, just thinking I've been a champion that long before?
Of course, I ideally want to hold it as long as possible. If I can like break the reign, I think Will has the reign for the longest heavyweight
Mm,
title reign. But the thing is, I always have an asterisk for that title reign and my title reign, just because it began before the pandemic, and then
yeah,
the pandemic hit. So that pads out a lot of the days.
yeah.
So I really sit on the defenses. I was like, okay, what's one that is actually like a fair measurement that is like cool that no one can kiss their teeth at. And I did the defenses, like 16 defenses was the record that I hold and set for the cruiserweight title reign. So it would be a cool thing if when this title reign ends, that like it's either in I get like some kind of thing that like, oh, Michael's the only one to have done this.
Mm.
If it is that like, oh, I'm the only one to have defended it at the Copper Box Arena, or the first one to do that, then I'll take that. Ideally, if it's like in 1,000 day, you know, bloodline reign, that's cool. If it's multiple defenses that I'm able to do, that's also cool. But yeah, I'm really big on legacy. So if there's something that I can like leave with that title reign, that's what I want to do.
And just one last question for you. Obviously, coming up is the Mad Kurt Forever show in memory of Mad Curtis Chapman, who really touched a lot of people throughout his time in the UK wrestling scene. And I'm just wondering if you've any just a positive memory or story to tell about Kurt and just how he kind of was your friend and so on and so forth.
Yeah, for me, the most positive memory that I have is that he was a great friend. I've got a story about like banana bread, and that's for some reason in my head. It's been in my head recently in the last few days because we'd always try and see if we could meet up if there's like either a show happening or even if there's not a show happening. Um, we'd make sure that we'd bring him from Portsmouth to London, and I'd always be like, "Listen, I'll even half on a hotel with you. I could stay at mine, but I'll half on a hotel with you. I probably shared more hotels with Curtis than anybody in
Yeah,
this world." Um, and then like we'd make sure we go get some good food, get some breakfast, and we saw a place that said that it had banana bread. And I don't know, I'm trying to remember why we were so fixated on this place being a good place. We're like, if a place has banana bread, they have to be a good establishment. And then we ordered banana bread. It was in a place in Brixton, and we waited for the banana bread. He ordered it, not me. I said, I'm just gonna get normal food, and he said, I'm gonna get banana bread, and I'll have like a hollandaise egg omelette thing, and it was the smallest slice of banana bread ever. That from there on in, like, and the next like few years, if we saw anything to do with banana bread, we'd just send that photo to each other with no context, no caption, and that would be us just knowing that he was swindled out of like, because it was like £8 as well, so that's why he thought it would be like a full meal. So he got absolutely scammed in banana bread, and I just remember like taking the photo of him being disappointed at his slice. And of course, we both make fun of. We're the ones that we're okay to make fun of each other being small and skinny. So
yeah.
just like, well, we're not with a breakfast like that. You know, no wonder you're not getting any bigger. No wonder you're not putting any size. So yeah, but that's one of the memories that I was just recently thinking about in the last few days. And there's just a number of things that people could think of that makes you laugh about him, and he really was that guy that when you saw him you just were so happy to see him because you knew you were just going to smile in a locker room. So yeah, like I think that's the idea of what the show's going to be. Obviously, it's going to be to tribute him, and we're going to like give all the proceeds to his family to help them and to support them. But also, it's going to be an idea of just to remember like how fun he was and make sure that we have the silliest show in his honor.
And just before we do wrap up, obviously, Mad Kurt Forever, it is on March 5th, guys. RevPro High Stakes, February 18th against Will Ospreay. Is there anything else you want to promote? Anything else you want to just let people know? Come and watch?
No, I mean that would be it. It'll just be go watch some wrestling. You know, those are two very important shows for very different reasons. For me, those would be the two ones, the main ones I would plug. Um, I've got I guess 16 carat. I guess that's in March, which actually I've
Oh,
never done that tournament before, and that's just really cool thing. I maybe to take off my bucket list that I didn't even think. It's very similar to bowler, where I was like, this is a thing that I'll never be chosen for, just because it's just one of the things that maybe they won't choose me for, and then it's come at the right time of my career, and I'm planning to win that. So yeah, like 16 carat, the Will Ospreay match at High Stakes, which is this Sunday, and then of course yeah, come to the Mad Kurt Forever show, which is in Manchester. It's a far journey for me, but if anyone can make it, it'll be much appreciated.
all right. Thank you very much for speaking to me today, Michael. I look forward to everything that you've got going on. Guys, if you are new to Fightful Overbooked, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and I'll be back with more interviews later this week. So, see you guys in the next one.